Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Decision Making with Personal Outcome Measures. Today we'll be covering three of the indicators: choose personal goals, realize personal goals, and people are respected. As a little bit of housekeeping, all attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have any questions as we go, whether it's a question for Jill or a technical question, you can submit those through the question box. Also a reminder that this webinar is being recorded, and we will share the link to the webinar recording and the PowerPoint slides with all attendees. We'll probably send that out next week sometime. So now I'll toss things over to Jill, and Jill, you can get started.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the last series, session 6 of Joe's Life. Those of you that have been with us for the last 5 months have all of the handouts. Those are in a place that you can access, and as Seth said, with all of the recordings and those sort of things. So what we will do is we'll talk a little bit about Joe before we go, a couple of little updates. We are going to do polls during this for decision making with the 3 areas that Seth mentioned. So with that being said, the handouts are also, you can print those out. Seth has attached those, and you can find those. I don't know where, on the right-hand side or something, Seth. So, so with that being said, we'll start. We've been discovering what I do is that I read the scenarios, and then you will be polling in a little bit. So we've been discovering life as it is today for Joe. Scenarios are given, polls are taken for decision for each outcome and each support. Each is built upon the previous session and scenarios, and those are available to you. And as Seth said, each webinar has been recorded. Joe presently lives with five other men in a licensed home, no guardian, proxy, power of attorney, or advocate. He speaks through his actions by pushing away from something or someone or using a high-pitched vocal sound. Human rights committees review and agrees to any restrictions, including medication and house rules, and an activity log is still in place. It's known that he does not like crowds. We have some updates for that. Part of it is that Joe now has an iPad that he's working with that has been provided by speech therapy, and they're doing some great things in getting Joe to make some choices for himself and doing some answering of yes and no, and it seems to be going quite well. We're going to start with his personal goals, and these are all pictures of things that Joe actually likes to do, and I'll read those. He likes outdoors, he likes outdoor venues, he likes to swim, he likes to cruise. That's not Joe's car, and he likes going to the library. And now we'll read through the personal goals, and you all will decide whether outcomes and supports are present according to this scenario with what we know. So Joe has identified some things, activities and items he enjoys, including swimming at the Y, being outside when the weather is fine, which means warm, cruising, and female country music and the library. It's well documented and verified that Joe does not like crowded, noisy environments. However, noise is relative to Joe, as he does like the volume turned up when listening to country music performed by women artists. Historically, it's been documented that Joe has been less than enthusiastic about going to the day program, although he enjoys the activities if it's a trip away from the building. Joe had his annual meeting last week, and he made individual invitations on his iPad and sent them by email to the people he wanted to invite. It must be said that there were some people that he didn't invite to it, but, you know, he's getting there. He has his own email address and is signed up for Facebook. Although specific personal goals are not known, Joe and his crew, which is what he has chosen for the name of the group of people that he's working with and wants to work with right now, have committed to work on 2 things this summer. First, to attend a country western concert in an outdoor venue. As stated, noise is relevant to Joe's environment, and although he has indicated he does not like crowded areas, it is not necessarily the number of people, but rather the proximity of those people to him. He doesn't like to be jostled or touched by strangers in those cases. Joe's crew member, Tara, has committed to help Joe look for a concert that might interest him. They're using the computer to look up and then to listen to some of the music to see if he likes the sound and would seem interested in going to that concert. Second, to stop attending day programs. Joe's crew members, Kyle and James, are assisting Joe to find alternate activities during the week. At this time, Joe will attend day program 4 out of 5 days rather than the 5 days that he has been. And he still has the option to attend any activities the day program might have scheduled. He uses his iPad for choices and yes and no answers, and has had additional programs installed on it, and it seems to be a very positive for Joe in choosing. Staff continue to be excited about the process, as does Joe. The outcome questions that you will be polled upon, if you're in your manual, we're on page 80, decision making for people choose personal goals. And the first question is, have Joe's priorities regarding goals been solicited? Does Joe choose those personal goals? And are they goals that Joe is working toward? Working good toward. Gosh, I've read this 8 times. If the answers to 1, 2, and 3 are yes, the outcome is present. There is the additional consideration that a formal service planning process is not required for the outcome to be present. So we will poll on whether or not the outcome for Joe is present, and we'll poll that now.
The poll is now open. Around 60% have voted. If you haven't voted yet, please do so now.
We'll close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And Jill, we have 59% said yes, the outcome is present, and 41% said no, the outcome is not present.
In this particular case, the decision by the council is that the outcome is present for Joe at this very moment. He's working, they're soliciting, they're finding out. He's been a part of the choice process. He's agreed that that's what he wants to do. With all the evidence that we have seen, he is working toward those goals that he and his crew have chosen. And so we would say that the outcome is present. We're going to go ahead and do the supports, and then we'll take questions. So the support questions for this is, does the organization know the goals that Joe has identified for himself, or are efforts being made to learn about Joe's goals? Does the organization provide supports and services to assist Joe in pursuing those personal goals? Again, when we're doing this for this purpose, it is either yes or no. You do not need to choose one of the 3 no's, but rather is it present or is it not? Those of you that have not been on these calls before and not really familiar with this, those things are areas that the organization themselves can use to see success as they were not aware or were aware or developed a plan. But for this, you will just say yes or no. So, poll open.
The poll is now open. Around 70% have voted. If you haven't voted yet, please do so now.
And we'll close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And Jill, 78% said that the support is present, and 22% said that the support is not present.
According to the questions and decision making for this, the supports are in place for Joe. And this is one of those that we really need to remember, that when you're looking at 20A, do they know, or are efforts being made to learn? And there's clearly efforts going on with this, and the commitment of the staff to do this is high, and so it is a formal service planning also. That, you know, some of the other things that they are not formal when they're working with the iPad, but those all support the individual, support Joe in this goal. So if you have any questions, now's the time.
Joe, we did receive a question. It's, I believe, questioning the scenario where it's stated, this person asked, what about the phrase, although specific personal goals are not known? Then they ask, how can the objective, or I would assume outcome, be met if this is the case?
The outcome, because the personal outcome questions have Joe's priorities been solicited, they're soliciting them. He was a part of choosing these. I mean, there might be more specific things. This is that, you know, Joe is just learning how to use his iPad. He's committed to, both he and his crew have committed to working on these two things, and he's been in agreement with it. And so these are the things that he has chosen and is working toward that.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any other questions? There are none at this time, Jill.
Okay, very good. If you have another question, you can always email myself or Kathy. Seth will send them on to Kathy or I, but if you have individual specific things that you want to talk about, just let us know. We'll move on to realizing goals. These are some of the goals that Joe has identified for his things that he has found in the last few months. These are accomplishments that have been identified by Joe and his crew. Joe has contacted Uncle Joseph and Aunt Marie. You see their picture there. And he received a picture from them, framed it, and has it in his bedroom. They have exchanged email addresses, and Joe sent a picture of himself to them. Joe's staff did contact his cousin Cynthia, however, she's not shown much interest in continuing correspondence at this time. They are committed to trying to contact her and find her email and try to kind of make some sort of connection with her. Joe has a Facebook account, but not many friends yet. He has an email account. He's attending the day program 4 days rather than 5. He's using his iPad for choice of activities. In the last scenario, he had been in contact with Pastor Frank, and he was going from his church and was going to attend the coffee fellowship after services. Pastor Frank invited him, and it was okay. However, it was in the basement of the church, and staff reported it was pretty uncomfortable for Joe. Again, Joe and his crew know that he defines crowded and too many and too close. And we also know that Joe and his crew know that Joe's definition of noisy means too many and too close. Not necessarily volume, but the kind of noise. And it's more about the proximity of people to him that bothers him more than what we originally thought was just kind of loud things. It did not seem to be a good fit, but the church is having an ice cream social in July, which is held outside, and Joe and a weekend crew member are checking it out. People in the congregation donate homemade ice cream, and Joe will bring a half gallon if he wants to go. So the outcome question for Joe is, has Joe accomplished something that is significant to him or her in the past year or two? And this is the additional consideration, is that Joe must have accomplished a personal milestone within the past year or two for this outcome to be present. With that, the poll is open.
70% have voted.
Please vote in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Poll is closed, or almost?
And
okay.
Yep, it's all closed, and 70% said that yes, the outcome is present, and 30% said that no, the outcome is not present.
In this particular case, we cannot identify if it is of personal significance. There are all sorts of things that have happened. However, the additional consideration accomplished a personal milestone within the past year or two. We cannot truly identify that it was a personal milestone for him. Although there are accomplishments, we don't know the significance of those. And so the answer to this would be that it is not present. They're aware, plans are being developed, but it's not in place at this moment. We will go on to the support. Has the organization identified accomplishments that Joe sees as significant? Are supports provided to assist the person with developing, maintaining, something's amiss here. 21B is, does the organization assist Joe to celebrate the achievement of personal milestones? I'm very sorry about that. The typo is from the last one. Based on the answers to these questions, are individualized supports in place to facilitate this outcome? So the decision-making are on page 83, and do they assist Joe to celebrate is the second question, the achievement of that. The poll will be open.
%60 have voted.
We close in 5. And poll closed.
So Jill, 36% say yes, the support is present, and 64% say no, the support is not present.
At this moment, again, the organization has identified some really nice things that have happened with Joe. However, they don't know how significant Joe sees those yet. And so we've got one thing with the picture of auntie and uncle that may or may not be. I mean, they're helping him do that, but it is not present. But they are developing plans. So if it was your organization where it wouldn't have been in place 3 months ago, and then they became aware, but no plans. Now they're developing plans to try and help do that. They are celebrating those with Joe kind of all the time. There's not a party with whistles and those sort of things. However, we can see by the scenarios that they're very into it and doing those. But it is no, but they are developing plans. Any questions?
No questions at this time yet, Jill.
Okay. And you'll see as people's lives become more complicated and more enhanced and more robust, these things take more thoughts and maybe digging a little bit more, but we're not certainly trying to stump anyone, but we want to make sure that we're talking about, especially with someone who's not, just telling us all of these things. How do we build upon? How do we peel the onion back? and how do we start to know what those accomplishments mean to them, which is their challenge for Joe also. We would expect that there would be, in the next year, we would expect that there would be far more things in place when it comes to realizing. And as this is all very, very new, we're just not quite there yet. So just wanted to bring that up.
And Joe, we did actually get a few comments.
Okay.
One person is saying that it seems as if we are inferring that there's been a celebration. Doesn't there need to be evidence or documentation that a celebration occurred if the person cannot tell us?
Well, celebrations of those things, I mean, it would be more of just, talking with them and saying, what are you doing? I mean, they've got the iPad, they're continuing to put things on it. They're talking with him, giving him lots of options, doing the things that they see as not going to one of the things not going to the day program every day. We would hope to see that happening more as they see what it is that Joe wants to do during the day. So those celebrations do not need to be in the form of a party or any of those things. It's more of how do you know that Joe is starting to feel good about these things? Getting the frame and having him put it where he wants to in his bedroom. That can be a celebration of that also.
And Joe, this isn't a question, but it's more of a comment to someone that maybe you can elaborate on. Someone said that celebration should not be outside of the realm of what we would do for ourselves. I think it's kind of a good point. Maybe you could comment on that a little bit.
Sure. I mean, because we do something, we may celebrate by just calling someone and saying, guess what happened today? And having a friend say back to you, isn't that great, is a form of celebration. And I think that's a very good point and well stated in that way that, we don't do handstands every time we have something nice happen to us. Or that we accomplish something. Sometimes it is. Sometimes we have the graduation celebration and birthday celebrations. But generally we have some pretty simple pats from our friends and from our loved ones that happen. Anything else?
And that's, I believe that's all we have for questions so far, Joe.
Okay. We'll move on to respect. Joe's crew includes, some of you remember these, James, which is the first shift weekday staff and probably Joe's favorite person that we know. Tara's a second shift weekday staff. Marcus is an overnight weekday staff. Patrice is a weekend staff, and Jen is a weekend staff. Kyle is the program manager. These are the people that are Joe's go-to people. James being the favorite and the first. The crew works out schedules to ensure that Joe is in contact with at least one of his crew every day. One of the things that we found with Joe in some of the historical things is that Joe's only real go-to person to call him, to be a part of that was simply James. And so one of the things was that they were hoping to kind of expand that go-to group to help Joe trust or choose another person too. So that this crew, these 7 people have worked, 6 people have worked this out so that he will have contact with one of that crew every day. Now, many times it's more than one. The crew meetings happen every Thursday, so they get together every Thursday, anybody that can, to make sure supports are in place for the following week. What they do at that point also is if somebody needs to do something, like Tara is going to look into concerts, that would be something that would be discussed at that Thursday meeting. What's been happening? What are we doing? How's it going? Of course, Joe is present also. So any schedule changes, including vacations, are considered by the crew, and they work that out amongst themselves. So this crew is committed to, if I'm going to be, 3 of us are going to be off this week, we need to make sure that 3 people are on so that we have somebody in place for Joe that he can count on. It's also time to check with Joe about his goals and to make any adjustments that are needed, some that may be deleted or added to support. And this has just begun after his annual meeting. So they have had one meeting after the annual. The meeting is scheduled for 20 minutes unless additional time is needed or requested. And the plan is working well, although it's just been once. And Joe seems to enjoy the meeting. He likes being with the folks. So with that being said, and everything we know about Joe, is Joe treated with respect by all of those people? I'm not going to read through all of those, but anyone that he comes in contact with. Do the interactions with others reflect concerns of Joe's opinions, feelings, and preferences? Does Joe have opportunities to participate in challenging and interesting activities? If the answers to 1, 2, and 3 are yes, the outcome is present. So the additional considerations in the isolated examples, and that services, sports, and activities must enhance Joe's self-image and promote a positive image for that to be present. So we'll open the poll.
Poll is now open. %70 have voted.
So vote now. In 5, 3, 2, 1. We'll close the poll.
So Jill, 62% said that yes, the outcome is present for Joe, and 38% said that no, the outcome is not present.
At this point in time, the challenging and interesting activities is the one that would start to pull this out for Joe. So the answer is no, it's not. Although there's no isolated, this is where we talk about that respect, that it's the big R and the little r, and certainly day-to-day communications and day-to-day things are certainly okay. But we're looking for that really robust sort of respect that we look for, and there are lots of things that are starting to happen to make sure that that huge respect is that, and that he's gaining and not just kind of status quo for him. So it's a challenging and interesting that they're working on hard, but at this point in time, the outcome is not present for Joe. And again, it's not like there is overt disrespect, it's just not robust respect. So for the supports, does the organization know what's important to Joe with regard to respect? Does the organization act to ensure that interactions with Joe are respectful? Have supports needed to enhance Joe's self-image been identified and implemented? And based on these questions, are supports in place to facilitate this for Joe? The poll will open.
%60 have voted.
You'll vote now.
%70 have voted.
Okay, we'll close in 5. And we'll close.
And Jill, 34% say that yes, the support is present, and 66% say that no, the support is not present.
The support is not present at this very moment. Of course, they're developing plans. And I forgot to say in the past, and those that have not been on this, and that's part of the challenge and opportunity for these webinars is that Joe is still in the house with a housemate that teases him, and it's not being addressed yet. And so that's part of the historical that isn't in there, and I will put that in for Thursday. But I did forget to put that in. But it's not there yet because we really don't know what Joe sees as important with respect. There's certainly, again, doing lots of things. The developing plans is in place. We're looking for that pattern of respect all the way around, and they're robust. So it is no, they are developing plans, but for this instance, it would be no. Any questions?
Jill, there aren't any questions submitted yet. Maybe it might be, I know you've covered this previously, but maybe it might be helpful to share again why we put people are respected, why we placed it at the end of this webinar series.
It's those of you that have been with us for a while and know the last, because respect is kind of the whole thing, which if you haven't read all the scenarios from the first 5 sessions and then seen where he is today and where the organization is going and where Joe is going, it's we put it, and we still teach it, that for those of you that are trainers, to remember that we still teach this with respect being at the last of it, because it really it's important with all of Joe's life, and it's the holistic approach that we want to be looking for that respect. So even though it is number 7 in the listing, as we know, there's not one that is more important than the other, but with in regards to respect, we want to make sure that we're looking at the whole person and that all areas are respectful. So we have that dignity and respect. And for trainers, just remember that when you skip that, you just have to go back to it at the end. It's like, oh yeah, we forgot respect. Because we get caught up in it, also. Any questions?
There haven't been any additional questions submitted.
And we only had 3 this time, and usually the 4th one takes us through the whole hour. Certainly enjoyed doing this webinar series with everyone. If you've been with us the whole time, it's been great for me. And if you have any feedback on it, I'm not sure. I know that Kathy and I are talking about another series coming up. The request for this series was because people wanted a series for people that didn't speak with words, that we had to actually figure out their language and to assist with that and be real supportive of that. And so that's where we will with Joe. And Kathy and I are talking about doing another series on this. We've got lots of webinars going on. And so just keep track of it, and we hope you're enjoying them as much as we are. So I thank you for being here with us today, and enjoy the day. It's beautiful here in Nebraska. We have no wind for once.
And thank you, Jill. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Peace out.